Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today I'll be covering part 34 in the longest running story on this channel, which is titled, While Wife Thought Her Affair Was Going Unnoticed, Husband Was Playing the Long Game Preparing for War. And guys, here we are, part 34, and as long as you guys, a core group of you guys like this guy's story, I'll keep covering it because this guy's cool, and it's quite interesting. Whereas where things left off before, things are moving along with his new girlfriend who he calls Raisin, the girl from Singapore who's a lawyer, and other things are falling into place with his life. Well, this update, which is a little bit longer than normal, he's talking about a bunch of things that happened recently involving her, his buddies, and the mother-in-law. The mother-in-law who he has a relationship with because she was a great lady and all that. A pretty entertaining one to go over here on a Saturday. And guys, again, I've been saying for a couple weeks now, come join me on Locals or Patreon. Having a really good time there. If you guys like exclusive content, I'm doing 2 to 3 videos of exclusive stuff not shown on YouTube a week, as well as all the videos free, with commercial free, so come check it out. And of course, a censorship-free environment so the YT can't mess with you. I'll post a link at the top of the comments section and description. Anyhow, his update, he says here, I've been living my life, and I told you my updates would be less frequent. Well, July 4th was interesting. My mother-in-law invited me to my mother-in-law's and father-in-law's annual 4th of July bash. Who do you think's going to be there? His ex. Come on here. I know she was doing it out of kindness, and she really didn't expect me to go. I politely declined and laughed, saying that I was surprised at the invitation. I'm not. Come on here. She confessed that she didn't really expect me to go, but she wanted me to know that she was thinking about me and that I wasn't alone on a holiday. I see where she was coming from, and I appreciated it. Yeah, but don't tell me for a second there isn't a hidden motive. You can't tell me there isn't some hope in the back of her mind that he'll get back with the daughter. She let it slip last year when we were no contact that they had a 4th of July bash and brought Emily along, kind of reluctantly on her part. I don't know, it seems kind of effed up, but then again, they were pretty upset with her and they had just spent a lot of money on her divorce. I guess it was the last stop on her apology tour. I don't know, they're not my parents and they've always been cool to me, especially mother-in-law, but that seems excessive. I don't think they were giving her the Cersei Lannister treatment, but I'm sure it was awkward as F-U-C-K. Well, I had my own 4th of July bash this year with my buddies Jim and his wife, and Bob and his girlfriend, and Matt, his wife, and their daughter. I got a good deal on some New York strip steaks from a local meat market. I took the opportunity to put the grill through the pieces after I restored it from Emily's burnt offerings to the haute couture. I had used it before now, but it was the public coming out party for it. Well, cool. Nothing like 4th of July, grilling steaks and burgers and dogs on the grill. Jim brought over a bottle of rye, Angel's Envy if you're interested, plus I had a cooling of Yingling. It was equator jungle hot and humid where I am on the 4th of July, and I'm not ashamed to say that more than once that we were dipping our heads into the cooler's melting ice. We decided that we were a bunch of manginas, so we retreated indoors while I abdicated my grill throne and my man card to Bob, who brought a digital meat thermometer and made perfect steaks with it. He looked like he had taken a swim, except that it was sweat, not pool water. Now that's pleasant thought when you're going to have your steaks. Yeah, here in the South or Florida, a lot of people say Florida is not the real South, but it's freaking South and it's freaking out here. It was miserably hot and humid 4th of July. His girlfriend was out there with him, grabbing them both beer, fanning him paper plates. Yeah, Bob's a lucky guy. She's definitely a keeper. Bob's a lucky man, and she seems to love him, and so goddamn much, I envy him. Yeah, we'll see in 5 years. My girlfriend Raisin was nowhere to be seen because she was working on the 4th of July. I guess her lawyer masters figured that since she was from Singapore and she hasn't renounced her citizenship of Singapore, she didn't care about the 4th of July in the USA. Not surprised. She's an associate, a young associate, low woman on the totem pole. Of course these fuckers are going to have work on the 4th of July. I have to confess to you guys that I took an Uber to get more beer and took a route that took me by her office to make sure her car was there in the parking lot. It was. Our guy's learning. He would have done that in the past. The paranoid part of me thought that it could be that she just parked the car there and met her Tinder date or whatever there. That's where my paranoid mind is at. I didn't tell her, and frankly, I felt ashamed. After what he's been through, and obviously he's a Redditor, and I'm sure read countless stories, you got to do that, guys. It is what it is. You got to pay attention. Always keep your eyes open. You have to pretty much assume they're going to cheat on you, and you're looking at the phone, open phone policy, checking up on things. Trust but verify and trust. You get my point. Matt and his wife's kid, whom I previously referred to as Baroness Peabody, because her forte is crapping and slobbering, is now crawling with a vengeance. She's crawling with her legs outstretched and clinging to anything as tall as her to stand up and straight. She saw my cat Beans and took in after her. It's like she decided that Beans the cat was her new best friend, and Beans had no say in the matter. Cats do not like small children. Doesn't work that way, or babies. She puts everything in her mouth and is a tiny little drunk warlord, and I love that kid. I and Emily apparently share occasional babysitter duties while Matt and his wife go on dates. They alternate between me and Emily as free babysitters, and I don't see Emily. Beans the cat alternatively did not love her. Matt's kid apparently decided that Beans was her new best friend and stalked her relentlessly. That's what kids do. My buddy came to visit me last June, him, his wife, and his 2 kids, and the one child is 5, I think is autistic, or has some issues they think is autistic. And that kid was just walking around and wanted to play with my cats, and my cats are, not having it. You have to understand that Beans the cat considers my house her sovereign territory and me her butler. Sums it up. She has met Bob and his girl and grudgingly certified them as acceptable. She was not consulted about the baby, and the Baroness took one look at the black cat and lit up like she'd found the meaning of life and began a slow, relentless shrieking crawl pursuit across my living room. What followed was the funniest 20 minutes of my life. Beans the cat did not run, that's the thing. Beans is not a runner, Beans has dignity. She instead executed masterfully fighting retreat, staying exactly 18 inches ahead of the child, occasionally stopping to sit and stare at this creature with an expression of pure withering contempt, like an aristocrat being pursued by an especially sticky peasant. This dude cracks me up. All the cat brothers listening to this are like, The baby would close in, delighted, hand outstretched, and Beans would wait until the last possible second and then relocate a few feet away and sit down again, facing away, tail flickering, radiating, "You're beneath me," the energy at the pre-verbal infant. The Baroness, the baby, thought this was the greatest game ever invented, and Beans the cat thought it was a hostage situation. Finally, my cat, when cornered, leaped onto one of the higher bookshelves and looked down at the baby like, what are you going to do about it? We tried to distract the baby by trying to get her to take her first steps. Imagine a bunch of drunk mother effers encouraging a baby to walk. Yeah, she's finally freaked out and cried, so I'm responsible for scarring a child. Matt's wife played off like it was no big deal and took her off to my guest room to give her a feeding. We didn't set off any fireworks. It was due to my upbringing. When I asked for fireworks as a kid, my dad was annoyed and said, why don't I just set a $100 bill on fire? And it occurred to me that, we're just setting money on fire, and professional fireworks are way better. Smack! Oh, no. Fireworks is a time-honored tradition. Come on here. There ain't very few things are as fun as grilling some burgers and dogs, having some beers, and lighting up fireworks with your bros. And the great thing is, the more you drink, the dumber you get. Nothing's more fun than getting like bottle rockets in the PVC pipe and putting them over your shoulder, and your buddy lights the whistler and launching it out like you're Arnold and Commando. Those are good times. And I wouldn't recommend drinking while doing fireworks, but we are flawed, us guys. Anyhow, we were too drunk to go to a fireworks show, so we just sat in the lawn chairs while teenagers in the block set off fireworks that they bought. It was nice. The booze made it even nicer. See, those teenagers were having fun. Speaking of booms, here comes another storm, because it's Florida, so of course it's going to storm every 5 minutes. I talked to my mother-in-law a week later, and it turns out that Emily didn't go to their 4th of July bash either. I don't like the idea of her shutting herself off from life. I mean, I don't want her anywhere near me, but that doesn't mean I want her to cut herself off from living. Dude, who cares? Who cares about your ex? I know you're a good guy, but that good guyness got you in trouble. Let her go to church and see how long it is before she's having an affair with a freaking minister. On to his girlfriend. Now we're going to get to some interesting stuff here. Our guy, you're going to see in this part here, because this girl's obviously his girlfriend, Raisin, codename Raisin. He's establishing some boundaries with her. Our guy that normally wouldn't have done that in the past. He says, in case you didn't know, I call her Raisin because her Chinese name is Ruzin, which is pronounced, if I understand correctly, Raisin, with an emphasis on a second syllable. Yeah, her name to me is Raisin. I know it's not flattering, but she's a beautiful petite Asian gal. So don't worry, she's gorgeous, to me anyway. This dude likes his Asian women. I'm thinking threesome. Get whatever her name is, Shreya, back here, and, you only live once. We're still going strong, despite the fact that I check up on her behind her back. But don't worry, I feel shitty about it. I don't know how to talk to her about it. I mean, we have had to talk on my trust issues, not anything specific, like checking on her phone or checking to see if her car is at her law firm's parking lot when I'm out on a beer run on July 4th. Dude, don't apologize for it. You have to check up. I decided that we need to have a long, boring conversation about boundaries. The one that they never have in the romance novels or love stories or rom-coms. I told her my boundaries, and she told me hers. Basically, no exes, no drinking with the opposite sex without each other present. Bravo, amigo. I am proud of him. This guy in the past would not have the balls to establish boundaries, but now he has to enforce them. That's another thing. And we know darn well this girl digs him now. But once he starts feeling safe and comfortable in the relationship, that's when testing of boundaries will begin. I'm guarantee in 6 months we're going to be hearing about some of those. We're really going to see if he's learned. The moment we feel something is off, we talk about it. Easier said than done, but I'll do my part. Transparency is a default, not a request. I will say that Raisin leaves her phone face up and gave me the password. She'll leave it at the table while she goes off to the bathroom or the kitchen to make a meal. Which is her turn. We share those duties when we're together. I did the same for her. Good. I'm glad you have the open phone policy. Very good. She's insistent that Emily, his ex-wife, is my past and that she is not Emily, and she would be extremely pissed off if I were meeting Emily behind her back. I laughed and said that's no problem from my end. She also said that if Emily stalks me, that I need to report to the cops and go to the legal route to keep her from interfering in our lives or relationship. Lives or relationship, they haven't been dating that long. I understand her issue here, but let's remember, they just started. That sounds great to me. I point out that I can't control Emily if Emily appears or not, but that I won't hesitate to get a restraining order if it comes to that. Don't rule it out, dude. The exes boundary applies to both of us, but Angie's exes are all undergrads, and they have all gone to bigger and better things in life. She hasn't had any boyfriends in law school, and then she's been pretty picky while she's been the low totem on the totem pole in her law firm. Well, let's see as she rises up that totem pole how she's going to behave. I don't know what this guy does for a living. Seems like I just get this feeling he obviously has a comfortable income, comfortable lifestyle, but as this gal moves up the totem pole, and over the years, if she busts her tail, becomes partner, well, you know what I mean by that, guys. A lot of gals that rise in position in their work and income, sometimes certain guys that were good for a certain period of time don't become as good, and you know what I'm talking about. She did stress that she would have to go to lunch and dinner meetings with clients and colleagues that were male, but that she'd keep me in constant contact, answering her phone calls, and leave at a reasonable hour, meaning she won't close down bars with anybody who isn't me. That's all fine and dandy, but let's see in 6 months. One of her big emphasized points was, I am not Emily. I concur. She's definitely not Emily. I've had enough therapy that I can accept that. I didn't tell her that I'm on high alert for red flags for cheating, and that I did tell her that, that I'm on high alert for red flags for cheating, and if she ever decides that I'm not enough or that someone else is more, then she needs to be put on her big girl britches and end it with me, like a grown-up person with integrity and honesty. We'll see, I guess. Am I ready for something real like this? Well, notice she keeps saying, I'm not Emily. I'm not Emily. Well, that's good to hear. But a lot of gals will insist that they're not Emily, and yet behave like Emily's at one point. And notice he said, if things aren't going well, end it with me. Communicate with me. Don't fucking cheat on me behind my back. That's essentially what he's saying to her. Oh, yeah. Well, I hope after what this guy's been through, he's not dealing with that. Now on to the mother-in-law. This is going to be interesting. He says, so the reason I'm writing this is my mother-in-law showed up my place and Angie Reason was there. Angie/Raisin had stayed the night at my place. It was late Sunday morning, like almost noon. I was in the shower, and Raisin had taken her shower and was looking pretty dazzling in my big robe. I enjoy putting on a thick cloth robe rather than toweling myself off because I'm a fucking fancy lad. Raisin has stolen my fluffy robe after her shower because she's a goddamn thief. Anyway, Raisin answered the door because I was in the shower, and boom, there was my mother-in-law with my favorite spinach casserole. Here we go. Now, the mother-in-law, she's his ex-mother-in-law, but he loves her, so she's essentially kind of like a second mom to him. Even actually, I think his mom passed away when he was young. And there she is meeting the new girlfriend. In the bathrobe with her hair looking up like the bride of fucking Frankenstein. This is good. Anyway, she answered the door. I was in the shower, and boom, there's my mother-in-law. From my perspective, I heard a familiar laugh and voice that I've been hearing for 13 years, and I was like, what the fuck? I'd never gotten out of the shower faster in my life. I want you to picture a man in a towel, soap still in one ear, doing a controlled panic sprint down the hallway while trying not to eat crap on the tiles with soapy feet. Okay, whatever that meant. Mother-in-law was at my front door holding a disposable foil casserole dish. My ex-mother-in-law, standing on my porch with a 9 by 13 pan at what turned out to be her spinach and beef thing that she's been making since I was 19 years old. Raisin had answered the door, and my luxurious, expensive robe that Emily had gifted me in the middle of her affair, because of course she had. Let me back up and be fair to everybody here, because there are no villains in the story, just 3 people having the weirdest possible morning. Interesting that she just showed up unannounced. Something tells me that she probably knew something. My mother-in-law normally does not just drop by. That is our arrangement. And yet she did when Raisin was there sleeping over. Our arrangement is Wednesday lunch at a cafe on the calendar with clean edges, and that arrangement exists because I built it that way on purpose, and she knows it. But she is also fundamentally a woman whose entire operating system is someone I love is having a hard time, so I will drive to their house and stuff food in their face. That is not manipulation, that is bone deep where she lives. It's what she did when my mom died. She showed up and fed me until I could feed myself. She has one move, and it saved my life once, so it's a little hard for me to not be mad about it now. I found out later she made it because she had a feeling. Great, perfect, fantastic. Had a feeling, huh? I don't know, guys. I find it very interesting that she happened to show up this one time, unannounced, and girlfriend's there. I think the mother-in-law is a good lady, has been good to him, but I think deep down, some way, somehow, there's hope that he'll get, and Emily will get back together. The woman has a feeling, and my entire carefully engineered life architecture gets tested by a casserole. And my girlfriend, who did absolutely nothing wrong, opened the door at noon on a Sunday in my house in a row with her hair a disaster, expecting, I assume, a package of Jehovah's Witnesses. And instead got a lovely southern woman in her late 50s holding a dish and radiating a very specific energy that Raisin, being extremely intelligent, cloaked within about a second and a half. By the time I skidded into the living room, clutched a towel like I'm a goddamn Roman senator, they had already introduced themselves to each other without me, my ex's wife, mother, and my girlfriend. Well, I guess one could say it's bound to happen sooner or later, but not under these circumstances. Exchanging names on my porch while I was busy being wet and naked and sneaking around one room away. Nobody screamed or cried. It was, in fact, unbearably polite, which was so much weirder. Mother-in-law did the southern woman thing where they compliment you as a form of reconnaissance. She told Raisin her hair was beautiful, even though it was a freaking mess. She asked where she was from and said, "Oh, how lovely," in her reply of Singapore in a tone that contained approximately 11 follow-up questions she was too well raised to ask. Raisin, who negotiates for a living and has ice water in her veins, was perfectly gracious and gave up exactly nothing, which I could see mother-in-law noticing and respecting even though it frustrated her. Little details, guys, when he described his girlfriend having ice water in her veins. I don't want that as a girlfriend, thank you very much. That's fine for friends and benefits, but little details, you gotta remember here. This girl can be cool on many levels, but ice water in her veins, those types usually cheat and leave you, or have no problem cheating if it feels justified, or screwing you over if it feels justified, and they can justify anything. I know I'm a negative fuck. I know I'm cynical, but that's me at 48 and a half years old. I've lived too long, done too many of these stories. I expect, well, you guys, I'm sure most of you get me, get where I'm coming from. But I hope I'm wrong about this girl. And I stood there in a towel, dripping on my own floor, watching two women I care about handle a situation I had spent real time making sure would never happen. And I couldn't do a single goddamn thing about it because I was not wearing any pants. You need pants for situations like this. Then mother-in-law handed me the casserole, made me take it in both hands, like she always does, and she said she wouldn't stay, she just wanted to drop this off, and she'd see me Wednesday. And she left. Whole thing lasted maybe 4 minutes. Yeah, probably one of the longest 4 minutes of his life, aside from that meeting with Emily. Here's the part, and he says there, here's the part I've been low-key freaking out over. She wasn't hurt, or she was, but that's not what was on her face. What was on mother-in-law's face is the 2 seconds before she got her manners back was a relief. She looked past Raisin into my house, and she saw a woman in my fluffy robe and a coffee on the machine and my terrible cat glaring from the counter. And she saw that I was okay. I'm not sitting in the dark, somebody in there with me. And I think that's what wrecked me, because it means she's been worried. For years, she's been pitching me alone in a house, like I'm Silas Marner, but now she has a new picture and she can't put the old one down. I called her that night. I said I was sorry she meant raising that way, and she said, honey, I raised 2 girls. I've been finding things out that way my entire life. What is he apologizing for? She showed up unannounced. That's not their arrangement. Then she asked exactly one question, which was whether this raisin is good to me. And I said yes. And she said, well, then I don't need to know anything else, and we hung up the phone. You can't tell me mother-in-law wasn't gossiping about this whole situation. She'll want to know everything else on Wednesday, of course. Obviously, she's a human being. But she's not going to ask, because she spent 30 years being the person who protects people from the weight of things by slinging casseroles in their faces. My girlfriend Raisin's taken the whole thing, delivered while eating the casserole, which is excellent, and which she immediately asked for the recipe for. She said, so, that's the mother. Not the ex-mother-in-law, not Emily's mom, the mother. She's been in the room with her for 4 minutes and had it filed in the proper folder correctly already. That woman doesn't miss anything, and it's going to be a problem, frankly. The end of the update. Yes, that girlfriend of his does not miss anything. She's sharp, and he says ice water in her veins. That part makes me not loving that. But for now, he's having a good thing going. Our guy deserves it, but I hope I really like he's laying out boundaries with her. How that lasts, I don't know, but that's good. He's doing that. He's checking up on her. He's learned. So, as I said, guys, I'll keep doing this story so long as you're interested. I really like the guy. I think he's cool. Glad he's moving on. But, again, after what he went through, no way in hell I would ever get married. I've been through what he's been through, but he's a different type of guy, and obviously he wants kids and family and all that. We shall see. Well, I'll keep doing his thing, and we will see if we'll hit 50 updates by the new year. Certainly 40, maybe 50, you never know. Alright guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. If you like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.